वेलकम वेलकम टू साइंस क्लासेस। फ्रेंड्स, आज मैं आपको लीगल फ्रेजेस ऑफ स्टेनोग्राफी legal phrases. Let's start. In India, prior to the enactment, prior to the enactment of the contempt of courts Act 1926, High Court's jurisdiction, in respect of contempt of subordinate and inferior court, courts was regulated by the principle of common law of England. फुल स्टॉप दोस्तों, मैं डाउन कर रहा हूं दोस्तों, देखिएगा। इन इंडिया प्रायर टू द enactment of the contempt of courts act this one 1926, high court this one, high courts jurisdiction in respect of contempt of subordinate and inferior this one courts, inferior courts was regulated by the principle of common law of England. This one of England. Full stop. बंद कर दो, फुल स्टॉप। नेक्स्ट देखिएगा फ्रेंड्स, in India, prior to the enactment of the Contempt of Courts Act 1926, High Court's jurisdiction in respect of contempt of subordinate and inferior courts was regulated by the principle of common law of England. Next दोस्तों, you note down दोस्तों, this is the same. I am going next point. The high courts in the absence, the high courts in the high court in the high court in the absence the high court in the absence of statutory provision exercised power of contempt to protect the subordinate courts on the premise of inherent power of a court of record. फुल स्टॉप। देखिएगा दोस्तों, द हाई कोर्ट, दिस वन, हाई कोर्ट्स ये बना सकते हो दोस्तों, बना दीजिएगा। इन द एब्सेंस ऑफ स्टैट्यूटरी प्रोविजन exercised power of contempt to protect the subordinate courts यही बनाइएगा दोस्तों, subordinate courts on the premise of inherent power of a court of record. ये बना सकते हो आप, power of a court of records. This one दोस्तों, court of records. Then note down, the high courts in the absence of statutory provision exercise power of contempt of protect the subordinate courts on the premise of inherent power of a court of record. Then next, This one, friends, the English and the Indian authorities English and the Indian authorities are based on the basic foundation of inherent power of a court of record having jurisdiction to correct the judicial orders of subordinate court. Orders of subordinate courts. Subordinate courts, देखो दोस्तों, the English and the Indian authorities, the English and the Indian authorities are based on the basic foundation of inherent power of a court of record ये बनेगा दोस्तों, having jurisdiction to correct the judicial orders of subordinate courts. Full stop. This one, the English and the Indian authorities are based on the basic foundation of inherent power of a court of record having jurisdiction of correct the judicial order of subordinate courts. subordinate courts ये भी बना सकते हो दोस्तों, इसको डबल कीजिएगा और subordinate courts. full stop. Next, the King's Bench bench, the king's bench, king's bench in England, in England, and high courts in India, in India, high courts in India being superior courts, being superior courts of record, of records, and having judicial power, and having judicial power, having judicial power to correct orders, to correct orders of subordinate courts, of subordinate courts, enjoyed the inherent power enjoyed the inherent power of contempt, to protect the subordinate court, to protect the subordinate courts. Full stop दोस्तों. The king's bench, the king's bench in England, and high courts, this one दोस्तों, in India, being in India being this one, in India being superior courts of record, superior courts of records, and having judicial power to correct orders of subordinate courts, enjoyed the inherent power of contempt to protect the subordinate courts. थैंक यू दोस्तों. ये तो दिस इज यू नोट डाउन दोस्तों, द किंग्स बेंच इन इंग्लैंड एंड हाई कोर्ट्स इन इंडिया being the superior court of records and having judicial power of correct orders of subordinate courts of record, this one enjoyed the inherent power of contempt to protect the subordinate courts. तो थैंक यू दोस्तों, थैंक यू वेरी मच. आपको मेरा वीडियो पसंद आए तो दोस्तों इसको सब्सक्राइब करें, लाइक करें और मुझे व्हाट्सएप पे भी फॉलो कर सकते हो दोस्तों। थैंक यू।